Hey everybody, it's been a while since I've done a video. Saw something on ISWA and decided I wanted to talk about it. First off, we'll start over at SWPC, showing that, everything's pretty calm. Wind speeds are 435. Everything looks good. ACE is basically saying the same thing here. The 400 range. Enlil saying the same thing. The line's current time, 400, basically 400, right where everything correlates together. Alright, now, I noticed something here that's pretty interesting. Now, some of you might see this immediately, but for anybody who new who may not understand this, but if you look here, usually we see this as an IMF line, it's blue, but it's a polar cap because it's black. But we've never seen polar cap facing the wrong direction, because they usually, in this model, come from Earth. It's all these black lines. But as you can see, this one's coming from the back, touching our object at -20. It's been there for months. It's still there. It's in the magnetic chain. You got to realize the magnetic chain. Magnet here, and we all know there's a magnet out here. And here's a polar cap line from it, because it's pointing to Earth rather than out from Earth. And this is pretty much where the elevated solar wind is inside the magnetopause, because GOES is inside here. Basically, in this model, it's rotating this way. But in the solar wind model, it's rotating this way because we're looking down. We're here, we're looking at the equator, north, south. Well, let me show you something interesting. You see that here with the polar cap line from Ra. But interesting is Mom starts pushing, or was pushing, but then right there, polar cap line from Earth connects into our object again at -20 and connects all the way and goes all the way out, plus pushing closed field lines. But it gets interesting. The current increases, gets larger, and then changes completely from connected to Earth to connected to Ra behind us. Like the color change becomes from polar cap to IMF. All inside where Mom is pushing, so it's all encompassed. But you can see the connection still on back. That started from Earth, connects to Ra, and is no longer connected to Earth because it's separated. No black lines inside here. But what happens next is interesting. When we talked about, I said the connection comes from Earth, and then it gets connected to Ra, and you can start to see it here. It's the beginning of the transfer of energy, what I think is a transfer of energy or discharge. It just seems like everything basically went right on out the back, because again the plasma sheet has to increase again. But that's the way I interpret it. And here we can see this signature, what we've been calling Ra, blue IMF. Remember I said it was blue, but earlier on it was black and facing in this way. black lines, the polar cap, always come from Earth in this model, but at the very beginning, you can see that was a black polar cap line facing the wrong way. It was there one frame only. We got another line sneaking in here on the back too, but it's probably hooking into something right in here, which, I mean, the shading does indicate, but you know, there's many indicators that point out things, like right here, cross IMF right to an object, which happens to be where GOES 13 is right now. But the satellite moves as you progress, and that connection keeps on coming back. See, there it is again. But the other interesting thing that Eric talks about, and that's the connection, connection directly to Earth from the top side. With the compression coming in, basically we're slowly being compressed. Magnet back here, magnets in here, magnet out to here. It's all a big chain. And eventually, as the big magnets come in, these ones are going to get pushed. And then what's in here is going to come out and go sideways. They're going to shoot out. Because that's what happens. They got to go somewhere. Once they finally get pushed out, that's when the chain's going to get broken and things are going to change. But anyways, got distracted on a side note. But here, right here, see this blue IMF line is connecting. We're going very close. You got a polar cap line coming from us. They're touching. Next frame, that line changes to polar cap. So it's another form of connection that I'm showing you. I've shown you two ways now. The big event here, and on the top side here. IMF changing over the exact same position to polar cap. And you can see it. I mean, it's connecting out. Both sides. I mean, why wouldn't they just be flow out like they should, like all these do? Why are these curled and coming out? It's got to be influenced from here and going out. But anyways, that's that model. Alright, I'm just shrinking it down, getting it out the way. But on the polarity map, there we go. I mean, heck, you got yin and yang right there, basically. But you can see the same event happen. Your wind speed's high, because I think this is the beginning where this is where that black polar cap line was coming in and starting to connect. Right, that was right there. Where that black polar cap line came in the back, that's right here. This is making the wind speed increase. 800 still. It's getting ready to do it. But something interesting pops up right there. I mean, what does that look like to you? Again, right here at 20. All this is pushing in, pushing in, pushing in. There's an object right here. But still, everything's just pushing in. But watch. Remember I said I transfer or discharge? It's coming. Right there. That's everything. Just on out. Gone. Yeah, they did change the scale some. You'll notice. But they didn't move it much. So this is quite interesting. It's a neat little event I saw, and I haven't seen that before in that depth. So another thing what I wanted to show you guys real quick is just a lot of times how I use the tool. This one will be easier. When I'm looking over this tool, I've mentioned it, but not recently in the past. But if you grab a hold of the slider and you move it fast, instead of waiting it go at its speed, you can see things happen very quickly. You'll notice those changes. So you're just throwing that slider back and forth, watching what doesn't make sense, what stands out. It helps me. You can also, since you have it slid, the mouse touching on it and you're sliding it, you can come down to your keys. If you want to go frame by frame, you can use your arrow keys. Helps you, helps you look around. So, alright guys. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you was here. This is moving slowly, but this is how the sun's energy comes off the sun. When we have a whole, for example, this is a whole stream, coronal whole stream. And the sun takes 25 days to rotate one time. So this stream would take 25 days to come around. But here we're looking down at the north pole of the sun. This is Earth. These are two satellites ahead and behind, basically stereo A and B. But this is how the sun's energy rotates around and comes to us. But just imagine flipping on its side, and this would be on the ecliptic plane, but they just have it turned to where we can look at it from above. And that's how the energy hits us. So when you're looking at the magnetopause, if you compare the two models, your solar wind is going to come in like this from the sun. That's how it really hits us from the heliosphere model, and this is another tool that does show it. So it does come in from, it does arch out. They just straightened it, but basically that's how the sun's energy hits CMEs, solar wind, everything coming from our sun. So when we can see things are not behaving how they should be based on what we know how it comes from the sun, it makes it easier to pick it out when we've got some anomaly or solar winds coming from another direction, like we've always talked about. So again, these all should be just like this row. Basically, they all should go this way. But clearly, they aren't anymore. There has to be something there to do that. So, alright guys, talk to you later.